Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload is going to be a video about the long range, and let me tell you right off the bat, this video may be titled about something about a snowstorm. Well, that snowstorm will not be occurring this upcoming week. So I mean, literally this will be one of the quietest weeks we had in a while. We could be almost a rare, unusual pattern, especially for the Midwest. You know, they've been seeing, they've seen literally 3 storms in a matter of a week. So that is very welcome for them. We're going to be looking at a pattern with absolutely no precip. Basically, temperatures aren't going to be cold or warm. It's going to be a fluctuation between a little bit above, a little bit below, and it's looking as a very, very pleasant week in terms of clouds. There may be clouds, as it doesn't take much this time of the year to kick up some precip in atmosphere, but it looks very quiet. The chance for the snowstorm lies early next week, Sunday night, Monday into Tuesday. As of now, this snowstorm, air quotations, I mean, it doesn't look like much at this point. It's been on the models for a couple of days, and the odds are increasing that it will be occurring. To what extent, how much snow, where exactly, that's still very far out, and we'll have to just get on with it as we go into the future. But as for now, consider subscribing to this channel, consider liking this video. It really means a lot to me, really means a lot to this channel, helps it grow, helps me maintain this channel for you guys. And again, share this video with a friend. It really helps out a lot. Also, comment down below where you're watching from. I'd really like to know. So thank you for that. So let's start with the GFS model. Again, we have that big system across the north central United States, bringing heavy snow across Wisconsin, Michigan, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. But this will quickly end in the west, so areas like Wisconsin and Michigan and Illinois and Indiana. Although some lake effect may be lingering into early tomorrow morning across Indiana. So you live in northwest Indiana, you may get a few snow showers. Not really anything too big though. Maybe an inch in total. However, across the northeast, it's a whole different story. This low re-intensifies, it really spins up and produces, it could be still snowing pretty heavily across the northeast, including areas like Boston, Connecticut, Rhode Island, early Tuesday morning. So this thing is going to be prolonged events, and you can see it really intensifies. It drops down to a 970 millibar in pressure, and this really leaves quite a bit of snow. So let's just quickly look at the total snowfall accumulations. They have, either stayed the same for most areas or gone up. In fact, areas in Albany, New York, we'll be looking at ridiculous amounts. Those areas could be seeing up to 20-25 inches of snow. So definitely a good dose of snow, the first major snowfall for those areas, and it's pleasant for those that want it. However, it's not for those that don't want it. And then this is where, I mean, other than for the northeast, really this week will be really pleasant for the north central and western United States. I mean, the rain, the heavy precip doesn't get into California or the west up until Wednesday. Otherwise, look at the rest of the country. A little bit of lake effect snow showers, which are way overdone by the GFS model. If they get localized, there could be some heavier amounts, but it's going to be, again, localized. That's the key word, as if you live by the Great Lakes, you know exactly how lake effect is. Very, very, very localized and very isolated. And dependent on the exact winds and how that day really plays out, can't be forecasted in the future. But notice, really nothing significant. We have a weak system out in the west. It affects Southern California. Good news for those areas with wildfires. There aren't really any major ones, I think, at this point. At least there isn't really much making the headlines. However, we don't want too much rain in those areas, as too much could create landslides and mudslides from all those burned areas, those scarred areas. So just a little bit of light rain. This one won't be too big. You can see northwest sees a little bit of rain, more like drizzle really, and some rain and snow showers in the higher elevations in the southwest. This moves on around Friday into the southern U.S. Really doesn't do much. Doesn't really ride up the east coast. It kind of dissipates, and notice we get a really cool blast of air for the northeast this upcoming week. So that could be pretty interesting. Really seems to be only affecting the northeast, but if you look at the temperature anomalies, they will be pretty significantly below average, while the rest is relatively above average, especially in the west. So we continue with that. We see above average conditions spread into the east with a system that makes a pretty big entrance into Friday and Saturday. You can see quite a bit of precip associated with that mountain snow yet again. And then again, it seems to have a little bit of disconnect right here, but it really takes advantage of the Gulf of Mexico moisture and potentially delivers some snow across the Illinois, Michigan, Indiana area and Wisconsin. So that could be interesting to note of, as this storm, whatever track it takes, may see quite a bit of snow, and whether it takes a little bit one to the south or north can play a pretty big role. This one does seem to be followed by a pretty good dip in the jet stream, which reaches down into the further U.S. This is, by the way, I forgot to put this in. This would be occurring, the snowstorm again, that Monday. Start organizing late Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. So not this upcoming week, but next week. And notice then after that a potential another system and another system. So in general, it looks more active after this upcoming week. This upcoming week looks really, doesn't look bad at all in terms of travel. If this was, if this upcoming week was this week and this week was upcoming week, there would be way less travel issues. However, of course, 3 snowstorms had to occur on the Thanksgiving travel week, while the week after that, literally not a single one until Friday, late Friday into Saturday across the Northwest. And so, that's how weather is. It does not care about what day it is, and does not care about when it can, when it can't. No one shows it around, other than other parts of Mother Nature. So let's look. We could look at some of the total snowfall. Really, the major snowfalls will be again across the Northeast, with that system still going on and will be going on for the next 48 hours. The West, which are going to be some significant amounts with the oncoming systems. We're going to notice up to 3 to 4 feet in the Sierra Nevadas. Anywhere else, more moderate amounts, still heavy, not huge. For the West, not as much as they've seen this past week, but still some healthy amounts, and possibly a little bit of snow for the Midwest, and again, these areas where that snowstorm could occur. So it looks more quiet for the first 15 days or 10 days of December, and then starts getting active the second week. So not really 10. The first 7 to 8 days looks relatively quiet. So overall, there's not going to be much to talk about this week. I could do just some long range forecasts talking about Christmas time, what's going to be occurring in those. In that time frame, there's some mixed signals. The MJO is a little bit throwing us for a curve. It could be either going into phase 3, 4, or 5, or staying back to 1. And whichever one it lands in could create a huge factor. There also is a huge role in the CFS model. Let me show you that. The CFS, let's just look at the weekly. So right now it shows some warmer conditions, but in the long range it shows some chillier conditions, especially across the north end. You may be looking at this and being like, wow, it's really warm here. Well, the CFS, whenever it shows any sort of blue, that means that it's really is probably below average, as this one tends to be warm biased. But if I were to look at the one on pivotal weather, which I could pull up in just a minute, it would also show a potential big cool pattern across the 3rd and 4th week of December, which would be interesting, very interesting to see if that would actually happen. But again, the first 15 days look relatively more on the mild side than cold side. Let's look at this long range for European. Again, we don't see much at all. We have that one system that first tracks through Southern California, gets into the Southern Plains, doesn't do much. We have a weak clipper just basically skirmishing the Northern Plains and the Northeast, causes a little bit of lake effect. Then we have the bigger system starting to develop. European doesn't do much with it, a little bit of light snow to Wisconsin, and we see kind of like a secondary system develop across these locations. This could definitely, quickly turn into a bigger system if given the right ingredients. We'll just have to wait and see with time what that does. As of now, it doesn't look too awfully organized, too awfully strong, but again, things change dramatically in the long range. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So Let me show you quickly the CFS, that is a climate forecasting system. And let's just look at the anomalies for late December. And again, this goes out to 768 hours. So by God, no means is this gonna, be able to predict a snowstorm or even a pattern very well. But if it shows consistent signs, some cold, some warm, then we can take a little bit of clues and hints from this. Again, as of now, it looks for the next 15 days looks rather on the warmer side. I think this may be a little bit overdone. It looks on the warmer side, but notice that there are going to be some areas a little bit cooler. But again, we see that big dip possibly by where is this? Okay, so we could be looking right there. We could be looking at a pretty big dip in the northeast this upcoming weekend. And again, I think the CFS doesn't really do justice. It's doing a little bit too much on the warm side. But notice the northeast could stay relatively chilly. Then we get into just an overall warm pattern with that possible snowstorm occurring around this time frame. I mean, there's a lot of warm air to work with, so that could definitely be a powerful one. Notice it continues the warm conditions throughout most of up until the 3rd and 4th week. We get some colder air starting to come in, and this one could come into a big way. And look at that, -40, not the actual degree temperature, but compared to average, which would be significant. And this would probably be like a snowstorm right here, which we'll have to keep an eye on for. But I mean, a lot of variance in the models, a lot of variance in the I guess the oscillations that we use to forecast. But overall, it's starting to clear up a little bit. And it seems that the first 2 weeks are rather going to be mild. The 3rd and 4th have a bigger chance of being cold, but again, they do not necessarily mean much in terms of whether or not it will be cold. It's just a slightly higher likelihood. So thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking this video. Consider subscribing to the channel. Catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.